Uh, I'm Colton Matthew Romines. Today I'm going to talk to y'all about my internship at Greenway this summer. I worked at one Greenway, but I also visited multiple different Greenway locations, doing multiple different tasks for Greenway. I'm going to explain the different effects that had. Awesome. So, sorry, I'm still a little sick. I'm just trying to get this taken care of. So week one of my reports, I started learning how to create work orders. So that's the main part of my job. 75% of my jobs consist around making work orders. So at Greenway, you got your computer, you go in, you click, there's a button, it's just in our delivery app, create work order, and it has things that I will continue to cover as we go, such as techs who will be assigned, such as what we're working on. So I would input the serial number. So if it was a X390 mower, part of the serial number would be X390, and then just like like if we go to the bank, you use the last 4 of your social security number to identify it. We use the last 6 of a serial number to identify anything. So if someone's social security was 1, 2, 3, 4, that's what they would use at the bank. If this guy brings his tractor in and the last is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we punch that in the computer and it can tell us what it is, if it has a monitoring system, how many hours have been on it, what warranty. It tells us everything we need to know to make that work order. And then anything we don't know, typically we'll have the customer's contact information where we can call him, explain it, and based on what the work order is, that's when I'll figure out who I need to assign it to tech-wise, which I'll get into that later on, and how the time with it works and what different codes it has on it. But for the most part, grading, you input the serial number and assign it to a person who brings it. Perfect. So moving on to that. My second week there was another thing in my job that's more a morning thing. It's adjusting time cards, which the second week, I did not learn how to do it very well. I did it more in depth later on, which I'll talk about a lot more later. However, that first and second week, I was learning the basics of it by watching one of my direct supervisors show me how to do it, how they want them done, and was doing what was called minor adjustments. Basically, with a time tech, you would have to adjust milliseconds. So if they clock in on a job at 7:09:58 a.m., but they didn't clock in to work till 8 or 7:59:59, and there's that 1 millisecond difference, it would be my job to go in there and adjust it and make it correct. And that was as much as I did those first 2 weeks. I didn't adjust them much because, again, I was still very new. The third week, I learned how to create certain work orders like I did and how to assign them to certain techs. Again, this was when I was still new, doing simpler stuff like X390 mowers. Maybe I'd do a small tractor or a loader. Nothing really exceeding that, but I would do. So I'd already learned how to create a work order, punch in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it belongs to Stan Jones. And he's bringing it in because this is what I learned this week 3, was learning. He's bringing it in because the drive belt has been destroyed and it's broken, and the mower blades need sharpening because they're not cutting properly. That's where I would create a code for a tech to give to a tech, which I wasn't doing that at that point, giving it to the tech yet, but I would create code so when a tech would receive it, he would read it and he would know what he's doing on that mower and how to diagnose it. So, and how to proceed about it. Week 4, I learned how to assign the work orders to techs. So let's say you get X390 mower and it's serial number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it's going to Mr. Stan Jones. And again, let's say he has his drive belt needs to be replaced and his mower blades need to be sharpened or spindled or however, let's say sharpened. We have about 8 to 12 techs, 10 and a bunch of ag techs, but they don't fall into this category. I would pick what we had. We had 2 or 3 people who were 90% mower. So let's say we had one man named Shane, Chewy, and Colton were our 3 main people. I would pick, Shane has nothing to do right now, or Shane has 14 different mowers. He ain't gonna be able to do this. It's Tuesday, he's not gonna be able to do it till Friday. It's a mower we really like to have 24 to 48 hour turnover period, especially on a simple service like that. So then I would go to Chewy. He's working on a loader, installing a loader on a 3000 series tractor. All right, then I go to Colton and notice he hasn't done anything all day because he doesn't have work to do. That's when I would go in the computer, assign it to him, and there would be 2 parts that would come to that. Assigning it to him, and then either calling, texting, or going physically walking out to the shop, finding him and saying, hey, which I would tend to just do that because I found it easier going out. Hey, this is the mower, Stan Jones left it here. Basically giving him what the work order said, telling him quickly. Stan Jones, you know, he said the drive belt and the mower blades need to be sharpened. If you notice anything else that he didn't notice, because again, these guys are trained techs to do this, tell me, we can, and that's when I would, if I had to contact them and stuff like that. Moving on to week 5 was how to add segments and adjust work orders. So this is a beautiful photo of me. I'm getting adding one on here. So what we would start to add is S-diag segments, as it should have shown. Is what we would start with is an S-diag, just so the tech could figure it out, and they would tell us, hey, I diagnosed it. It did, you're right, he was correct. It needed a drive belt. It needed mower blades, because we wouldn't want to order parts that we didn't end up needing. But it also needed an oil filter change. The oil filter is trashed, it's destroyed. Okay, so we go ahead and, or oil filter and oil change. We'd go on there, and that's when I would go on here, and you would go back. I would delete this S-diag segment. Moving on, I would add, maybe for the blades, it would be /blades, X390 mower. And I would add that, so that's segment 1. Segment 2, /change oil, get new oil filter and replace. All right, /3, drive belt exchange. And again, these aren't exactly what they were, but they would tend to be around that. And I know you probably can't see it, but on this photo, there's different ways to search it and add it, and it would show me. And then I would add it on there, and it would add parts. So he needs a new oil filter, it would send it, our parts guys would receive it. Hey, we don't have an oil filter for an X390 mower. We can have it overnighted from headquarters, and have it sent to us. Well, we would go ahead and do that, and it would be a way for us to communicate with our techs, but it would basically set everything up so we knew what we needed. Once we had all the parts, we would give them to the techs, and they would fully fix the mower. We'd call them, and that would tend to be the end of the work orders almost. There was a few other things we'd have to do, but for the most part. Closing the shop at the end of the day was also a big one of my jobs, because I did end up typically being the last person there. On this photo, I got the 2 most important things, 2 of the 3 most important things you gotta do every night. You gotta make sure there's 8 bay doors, like garage doors that lift up and down on either side, and 3 hangar doors in the back, like you would see at an airport pretty much. We would go in and I would close all 8 doors, go back and push the button, hold it to close the hangar doors, because I have to make sure nothing was in the way, because it won't close properly. We had an issue with it one day, and it was terrible. But they would come down, close them, and then I'll walk around, I'll go about the shop, and I will look. Hi, maybe there's trash that needs to be picked up, or needs to be swept up, or whatever it happened to be, minuscule stuff. Part 2, I would go through and I would close my computer. I'd make sure there wasn't any computer, there never were really. Make sure no one's computers were on, or lights. I'd go through and turn off everyone's lights. And then I would close this door. We had a padlock in it. And then I would go out, I would leave, get in my truck, leave. We had 2 gates, that's the most important thing, is I would go through and I would close gate 1 and 2. Just pull them together, lock it, pull it together, lock it. I'd go home. That would be pretty much everything when it came to closing the shop, and all I would end up doing. Week 7, I learned how way more in depth how to review tech times and how to edit them. Originally, I just did the milliseconds. Now, I would learn like when techs are jumping between jobs or jumping between segments on the job. So let's say you have your, again, X390 mower, Stan Jones, and it's, a tech has put, the job code call, the whole job is 6 hours. And a tech put 1 hour changing the oil filter and 5 hours changing the drive belt, but put no time sharpening the blades. Well, that would look weird if we build it out, because some of the techs do it that way. I would pull time off of the drive belt segment and add it on to the sharpening blade segment and make it more balanced, because they had a percentage base, and that's where their bonuses come from, our bonuses come from, everything of that nature is that percent. And same thing, like let's say that guy had lost time, typically we couldn't do anything with that, but it was more of a adjustment between, if he messed, or if he came to me and said, hey, I never clocked out of that X390 mower for Stan Smith, but I ended up working on that 4000 tractor for Tom Jones. We would switch them over, and that would be my job, take care of it. Lastly, we got week 8. I learned how to properly close a work order. I still don't have a full grasp on this because I have a minor. Because I mean, I can understand the mower ones, like the Stan Jones ones, but there are some like specifically combine ones. We do not ever get cotton pickers. If we did get cotton pickers, it'd be a problem with them too, but where Walnut Ridge is, we don't get any. The combines are so difficult to close because when you're talking about a combine, you're typically talking about 40, 50, 60, 70. I saw someone leaving the shop with $100,000 plus on a single ticket, which that's definitely an amount of money. That you do not want to mess up on. Whereas a mower, it's $500-600, it could be easily altered. A $95,000 combine, it's not the same deal. So I would learn, go in here, all right, check, and just like I talked about here, making sure all the time was split apart and it didn't have all this time on one segment, which is a big thing with the combines because they would have 28 segments and most people would put all their time on one, and I would go through and I'd split on all the others, which would typically take about 4 hours to do, to split on all the others. But moving on, it was that, and then I would go through, price it, correctly check the time, and as long as all that looked good, I'd double check with the supervisor. He would either, A, if it's warranty, send it to warranty for John Deere corporate to pay, or he would send it to collections where we would collect the money from the Stan Jones getting his mower. When he comes in to get it, we would collect it, or if we took it to him, which I assisted with a lot, we would have a bill with him and we wouldn't unload it until, or we wouldn't leave until they gave us a check for whatever the amount, or occasionally cash or whatever, however they decided to pay. A picture with my supervisor. This is my supervisor. His name's Hunter Davis. I do not have a picture with him because I was going to take one this week, and as you know, I've been very ill and sick this week, and I've been in Nashville all week. But, so that's him. I have another one, Matt Wood, but I don't have a picture of him, so perfect. Thank you for the amazing semester and the amazing class. Thank you, sir. You have a great week.